This is a direct question to you as an Iraqi national. Why Iraq, when it was attacked by Americans, no one stand or even condemned US actions that time? And now they are all against Russian because it's a European country that attacked another European country.
Yeah, well, we had after the fall of the Soviet Union, we had people who were advocating that now we have come to the end of history. We have one unipolar power in the world, which is the Anglo-American empire. Where Britain is the brains and the United States is the muscles, and that they can do whatever they want. They set the rules. Later, it was called the rules-based order, which has no respect for international law. It has no respect for any norms. And that has become, that everybody accepted that. Now, since 1991 and also 2008, the world has changed dramatically. Because while we have a decline in the West, in the United States, and in the EU specifically, economically, socially, culturally, the infrastructure, the healthcare, the education, we have had a fantastic rise in the same areas in China, now in India, in the neighbors of China and India, and even Russia managed to get out of the destructive economic policy of the 1990s imposed on Russia by the IMF and World Bank and the West. Mm-hmm. Now, that imbalance now has created a completely new situation. So the people who live in this new American century mentality have a very difficult time accepting the fact that China, Russia, India, other nations are rising economically and could rival the West in their both economic power and also their military power and scientific power. So people have to abandon that very strange ideology that the West, the United States and Britain and their followers in the EU don't set the rules for how the nations of the world will behave. We have to go back to the United Nations Charter, respect for nations, but we have to establish a new architecture where the West have to accept. Look at the sanctions policy, for example. It's hurting Europe. It's hurting Germany. The Germans might have blackouts soon. They will have to decide if they run the railways or they run the industries, if they have power for hospitals or for schools, quite soon. And this is a result of many, many years of destructive economic policy, of deindustrialization in the West, while we have a massive industrialization process in the rest of the world. And this imbalanced situation is creating this kind of tension where the people who still have military intelligence and media power in the West, they don't want to abandon, their power position. But the reality is that their society, the people in the United States, the people in Britain and in Europe, the infrastructure, the healthcare systems. We saw what happened with the corona pandemic, where everybody was paralyzed in the United States and in Europe. China came to help us here, even with medical assistance. I mean, most of the American medical materials, they come from China.
To this point,
Europe and the United States, they were completely caught, in the bed, as they say here in Sweden. They didn't know how to deal with this pandemic.
We will be coming to this point.
That's a result of many, many years. The United States and Europe or the EU are not in a position to dictate anymore to the nations of the world how they should live, what rules they should follow, and so on. We need a completely new architecture.
Perfect.